Welcome back, everyone, to episode 4 of my series, where I will be discussing the Elementalist class. As always in this series, the topic will be what is expected of an Elementalist in Dungeon and Fractal speedruns. Elementalists are a very popular and very highly demanded class for speedruns, even with the nerf to Fiery Greatsword. Easy access to group offensive boon buffing and very high DPS are still attractive things, even without Fiery Greatsword. In addition to those positives, Elementalists have a ton of support options. So let's get into it and talk about what people expect Elementalists to do in speedruns. At the very most basic level, Elementalists are expected to blast their own fire fields and provide might and fury to the party. This is the absolute baseline. I hear horror stories of pug elementalists joining runs that have no idea how to stack might, or even the basic idea of that stacking might is something that they should be doing. Again, this is absolutely basic. Regardless of the weapon set you're using, even if you're on staff, you should know how to maximize your might stacking potential. The staff doesn't stack a ton of might, but it does stack some, and you should be able to contribute to your party the might stacks that they expect from an Elementalist. So the second thing is, beyond might stacking, Elementalists are the kings or queens of blast finishers. Much like a thief, their job is to blast whatever field the team needed. Did the other Ellie drop a lightning field for swiftness? Blast it. Did the thief drop a smoke screen for stealth? Blast it. Did the is the group taking a ton of damage and the ranger dropped a water field? Well, then you should blast it. The Elementalist needs to know what the other combo fields look like that other players in their party produce, and they need to know when they will be used so we can anticipate them and have the blast finishers ready. This will allow your team to get the maximum benefit from all those combo fields, which is, in a lot of ways, the key to really getting the most out of an Elementalist. In addition to their job as blasters, Elementalists have great personal DPS. But their DPS is contingent upon having decent DPS rotations. As far as professions go, only the engineer has a more complicated DPS rotation. Depending on your weapon set, the rotations range from relatively simple, which would be the staff, to complex, which would be Dagger Focus, Fresh Air Ellie. And a good Ellie is expected to know the optimal rotation for his or her weapon set. An Ellie who doesn't know his rotation and doesn't know how it works is losing enough DPS to push him from near the top of the DPS in the game to below average. It really is the Ellie's responsibility to take the time to learn his rotations. Because of that, I would highly recommend watching my guildmate Dekeys. Her guide has all the meta Elementalist builds for the different weapons, as well as the optimal rotations to be using in those builds. So that way, you will always be putting out as much DPS as you can muster. Related to the DPS is the idea that a good Elementalist is expected to know what his or her skills do. This, again, sounds pretty basic, but Elementalists have double the weapon skills of most classes, and only some of their skills are used for DPS. Most of the other skills of their 20 are utility-based, and they are usually very niche, and there's only certain times where they will come in handy, but you are expected to know what the skills do and be able to summon them forth on demand as needed. The certain specific skills should be able to be executed from muscle memory. One thing that I think is especially key if you are using the focus offhand is if a guardian says he is out of reflex and the party needs reflex, you need to be able to quickly swap to air and summon a swirling winds. This is something that you should think to do instinctively as soon as the Guardian expresses that he is out of reflex. Many of the skills are rather niche and won't come up in a typical run, like, say, Gale or the Freezing Gust, things like that. There's tons of stuff that just has very small uses, but when those uses come up, you want to be able to know that you have them and also be able to execute them. And that comes from practicing a lot, and it comes from being creative. There's a lot of times when you don't realize just how good a chill on a boss can be. I think the prime example of chill on a boss being especially good is, say, Mossman or Archdiviner or the Imbued Shaman in the Grawl Fractal, where chill drastically decreases the offensive output of those bosses. So it's important that even a niche skill like Freezing Gust is respected and you're able to produce with it when you need to. If the 20 weapon skills on your bar wasn't enough to learn, you're also expected to be able to quickly swap weapons when outside of combat as needed. The only way an Elementalist really can summon a lightning field is with staff. You can drop this and blast it and get some swiftness for your party, and then you'll want to be able to quickly go back to your main set. If you're doing a trash run, it is very important that you're able to switch to Offhand Dagger for Ride the Lightning, and then back to Focus for Swirling Winds when it is useful. Being able to quickly swap to Staff, drop the Lightning Field for Swiftness, and then back to your main set and to blast it is a sign of a highly competent Ellie. Because the Staff doesn't have a lot of finishers, but you can drop the field quickly and then swap back to a different set and launch the blasts. So, another thing to think about is that really you're looking to maximize your potential. I mean, you could skate through the dungeons just on your one weapon set and doing what seems natural, or you can go the extra mile and weapon swap on the fly as needed, drop the right combo fields, blast them yourself, and really just go the extra mile and become a team player in that regard. In short, since Ellies don't have a weapon swap, it's not really an excuse when your team is out of combat and you need a specific skill on another set. 50% of being able to do that is knowledge of what those skills do and the different weapons do, and the other 50% is not being lazy, and instead of looking to be carried, it's looking to see how you can go out of your way to be helpful to your group. The next thing I want to bring up is builds. Elementalist has probably more viable trait combinations that are considered meta than any other profession. 66200, 64220, 66002, 55220, 04550. These are all viable trait spreads depending on what your weapon set is and what your party composition is. It's really your job as an Elementalist player to know the pros and cons of each of these trait allocations, to be able to look at your party and determine which of these traits is going to be the most effective. Again, I would reference Daki's guide where she discusses the different weapon sets and the different builds that each weapon set would use, and the different times when the different builds come in handy. You really want to be able to go a bit above and beyond. A lot of this series is about going above and beyond the basics. Anyone can have their one build and never change it and never adapt it to their team and do well enough. But you're not going to do as good as you possibly can unless you have the knowledge of what your other options are and the initiative to switch when you know it's beneficial. So the very last thing I want to touch on for Ellie is the expectation people have for Elementalists is for them to know how to avoid dying. Elementalists are a light armor class with the minimum sized health pool, and they have very little evasion or blocking mechanics without having to spend utility skills on it. As a result, they are by far the squishiest class in the game, and the most difficult class to survive in full melee using Berserker gear. It sounds exceptionally basic, but people in your group expect you to be able to survive in melee on an Ellie. No one wants to hear the dead Ellie complain about how much harder it is to survive than it is on a warrior, even though that's true. If you choose to go the life of the Ellie, part of the job description is don't die. This is a simple thing to say in this video, but it might be the hardest thing to actually achieve in the game. But practice makes better, and that's what it comes down to. You should practice meleeing things in your Ellie until survival on the Ellie is second nature. So that's it, guys, for the Elementalist. The class definitely fits the description of a profession whose applications are somewhat straightforward, but the execution is quite difficult. If you have any questions, or you're an experienced Elementalist player who has some tips to offer, please feel free to post in the comments, and I look forward to hearing it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.